The new set has been completely leaked, and these are the most important cards in this set. We're going to talk about them, and we're also going to do a full breakdown. But before we start, what do you think? Which cards are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments, and also comment your friend ID code. Let's find new friends to play with and to trade. Okay, so to be honest, this set is a little bit kind of disappointing. One of the reasons is that some of the strategies are centered around status effects, even when they know that the top meta deck and the most played deck in this format is completely immune to this. I'm talking about Arceus with Dialga. We even have a new supporter that works around this mechanic, the Pokemon Center Lady. That will be interesting, to remove these status effects, but no one will be playing around this strategy. So unless we're planning to have a ban list for competitive play with Arceus on it, and that's not going to happen anytime soon, some of these new plays are kind of irrelevant. On top of that, many of these cards look like a worse version or an alternative to some cards that we already have. For example, Machamp is a worse version of Golem with a different weakness. Cyclizar is another alternative Farfetch, but it's a little bit more tanky but hit for less damage in 2 turns. Flamigo is just a different version of Marshadow in my opinion, but it is a worse version because it may hit for nothing or 100, when with Marshadow you know that you're at least going to hit for 40 damage, and under some conditions 100. Charizard EX, or the new version, is just, in my opinion, a worse version of the old Charizard EX because it needs to stay on the field for 1 turn to be able to gain that energy, so he needs to be hit once to be able to work. Tinkaton and Bibarel, they are just another alternatives to Arceus in the Alga decks that are worse alternatives, so no one's going to be playing those in competitive except like a challenger fun runs. And Wigglytuff also seems like an alternative to Shaman, but not everything looks too bad. There are a few cards that I think there might be worth looking at. We're going to talk about meta-relevant cards, but they are not broken. We're going to be talking about fun cards that probably won't be meta, good cards to have that are not exactly essential, and stay until the end to see about these cards that are going to be relevant, must have. Let's talk about these meta-relevant but not broken cards. First we have Masquerada and the full evolution line. I think this is a really good card against EX Pokemons. The evolution line makes it more consistent even when it is a stage 2 Pokemon. It has a really low energy cost. The only red flag that I can see is that it only has 140 hit points, so it might not be enough to survive on this meta. I would like to play this card in a deck that can hit the bench, like Spiritomb or Greninja, bring them to the front line with Cyrus and surprise tag them with Masquerada. The next card is Beedrill EX. 170 hit points, really tanky, hit for 80, and it has a really low retreat cost, and the evolution line makes it also a little bit more consistent even when it is a stage 2 Pokemon. I think the most important part of this card is the ability to disrupt the opponent's play, because you're going to be able to discard a random energy from the opponent's active Pokemon. I think this might be really important. So the next card is going to be Pikachu EX. 120 hit points, is going to be able to hit for 150, and it has a really low retreat cost. 3 energy might seem a little bit too slow, but in reality we may have some combos that make this attack really fast, and the only thing is that it's super squishy, so again, not sure if it's going to survive this meta with heavy hitters. And next we have the new Lucario EX. We are going to have a Pokemon that is a fighting type for 150 hit points. It's going to need 3 energy to attack, being able to attack for 100 to the active Pokemon and 30 to one of the opponent's bench Pokemon. And I think this is just going to be like a better alternative to Garchomp. It's faster and can do both of the things that Garchomp can do in one attack, one ability. Even with that, I think that Rapidash is going to be the better fighting type Pokemon, or the one that we're going to see in the competitive play a little bit more frequently, because it has that one-shot ability. But I think that you're going to be able to play both of them in the same deck. So when it comes to cards that are going to be fun cards but probably won't be meta-defining cards, the first one that comes to mind, it is Wugtrio EX. The skill says one of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen and random 3 times. For each time a Pokemon was chosen, do 50 damage to it. So you can think about this like a new version of Dragonite. It's just going to hit a little bit less. The downside is that the damage is a little bit too random to be actually competitive. And the next cards that I want to talk about are Magmortar and Rivaroom. These two cards have like the same kind of potential. One is a little bit more chunky than the other, but they're going to hit for 70 damage with the same amount of energy required. And the idea is that you're going to be able to stall a little bit, preventing the opponent's active Pokemon to attack or preventing damage or effects. And these are going to be interesting defensive strategies, but let's not forget that we already have some cards that are really similar to this. We already have Omastar that is going to hit for the exact same amount of damage. It's going to do the exact same kind of defensive play, and we don't play that in competitive, so these are most like fun but not meta relevant cards. Now, when we're talking about the cards that are good to have but not essential to have, the first one is Pachirisu. This card is going to be an energy generator for electric type decks, some kind of similar to Manaphy. So it is always going to be good to have an energy generator type of card. After that, we have Sprigatito that is going to be able to give more consistency to grass type energy decks. But let's remember that we already have Caterpie that has the exact same effect and we don't use it. We also have Iono. This is a really interesting card. It says each player shuffles their cards in their hand into their deck, then draws that many cards. The thing is that this card is really interesting, but it could win you as many games as it can lose you. It is similar to cards like Red Card or Mars. And the last card in this category is going to be the Pokemon Center Lady, Nurse Joy, and it says heals 30 damage from one of your Pokemon and it recovers from all special conditions. So this card will be really good when Arceus gets banned. Other than that, I don't think that we're going to be playing too much around status effects, so that's the downside of this card. The other thing is that it's also a trainer supporter card, so you're going to be competing with in the same turn for the ability to use another supporter. Okay, for the must-have cards, we have two of them. I think these ones are the most important cards in the set. The first one of those is Team Rocket Grunge. This is the one card that can change the metagame. Many of the top tier decks revolves around a tanky Pokemon that needs several turns to build the energy that they need to finish the game, and these cards might put an end to this. You just really need to know when to play this card. Also, it depends a little bit too much on coin flips, but still, I think it's going to be mandatory to play these cards in many or most of the decks. With a good coin flip, you are not only going to be able to prevent the active Pokemon to attack, but you're also going to be able to prevent the retreat, and that alone is going to be able to win you some games. If this card is good enough, and I hope it is, you might be forced to play decks that are a little bit more faster and depend on a smaller energy pool. Okay, the last card is going to be red. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 20 plus damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. This is a great card that it's always going to be useful. The more EX Pokemon we see on the metagame, the better this card is going to be. Okay, and the last thing is going to be the Pokeball, the Crown Rare Gold rarity for this set. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I would prefer to have a Pokemon instead of an item in this rare rarity, but well, some people are going to love this because, to be honest, you can use this card in every single one of your decks, so it's going to be really nice to have it. But I would like to know your opinion. Do you think this is the right move, or would you prefer to have a Pokemon here just like me? Okay, I think this is going to be it for this set. Every other card, I think this is just going to be something that you're going to use to complement other decks, or that you're going to use to play for fun, or because you love any specific kind of Pokemon. And there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, we play to have fun. Yeah, I think that's going to be all. Bye. See you next time.